tuning in for another episode, Big Dad Radio Show. I'm your host, and I'm here in Powder Springs, the Candela Bar. Correct? That's it.
Yes.
See, I don't want to mess up, what I'm saying, people's establishments, names, and things like that too. But I'm here with the founder, proprietor, Nicole. I liked your bio on the website. So, from Brooklyn.
Yes.
Are you a Biggie fan?
I am a Biggie fan.
Okay.
Don't ask me to sing any of his songs. But, I am a Biggie fan. And actually, our little wristbands say Spread Love, and the T-shirts that the staff wear does say Spread Love is the Brooklyn way on the back with Biggie's and Biggie's.
That's what I was going to, that was the next thing I was going to say, the Spread Love moniker that's out there. But it was a little story of Brooklyn, Georgia, Powder Springs, far location. What brought you to Georgia?
So, I left Brooklyn in 2001. My job relocated me to Florida. So I was there in Florida for about 10 years. And then my job again relocated me to Georgia in 2010. So that is how I ended up here. I lived in Vinings for a little bit, and then I decided to purchase a home in Powder Springs. So that's how I ended up in Powder Springs.
But from my understanding, because I'm just still getting familiar with all the Metro Atlanta area, Vinings is like north of here.
Yeah, it's
so like how Powder Springs though, because that doesn't seem.
So my realtor was looking for spaces, homes for me, and initially I wanted an older home that I'd be able to remodel, but I was having a lot of foundation issues with the older homes. So she said, "Why don't you go a little bit further out? You get more for your bang," and that's how I ended up in Powder Springs.
Okay, so and what year was that?
That was in 2012.
2012 in Powder Springs. So I imagine Powder Springs isn't the same that it used to look.
No.
It looks like it's been growing.
It has been rapidly. It has been growing. So when I got here, a lot of the shops were here, but a lot of the businesses, a lot of Black-owned businesses also are now out here, which is, a plus.
Yeah. That's always a plus. So is this your first adventure into entrepreneurship with a business?
So this is my first brick and mortar.
Okay.
I had been doing interior decorating for about 3 years.
Okay.
Officially, I was doing it, for family and friends, but officially I started a company and I started doing that 3 years ago. I've taken a break from that because this has taken a lot of my focus and my time, but it is still a passion of mine. So this is my first brick and mortar. My baby, my love, So I nurture it, I love it, and I just want it to grow.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. So why go down the entrepreneurship path?
So I want to say I was forced into it. I was working with that same company, and we got laid off in 2019. So I had my severance. I had about a year of that, and I decided I was going to do something, and I didn't know if I wanted to go back to work. So I started doing the interior decorating, and it was very lucrative for a while. And then COVID hit, and that put a damper on that a little bit. I was still able to do some stuff, but it was strained because of the you have to take certain precautions, and so that I set that aside for a little while. And then in 2020, I went ahead and thought about this business and got that going. And in 2021 is when I found the building.
So was it a natural progression from being an interior decorator to then wanting to open I guess what would you say this is? This is a high event venue? So
it's mainly an event venue, yes. The way it is decorated and designed, it can be a lounge as well. The fact that we have a full premium bar does set us aside from a few other venues, so we classify ourselves as an event venue, lounge, and bar, without bar being the
No, definitely get that. So why take on the risk of because being the interior decorator, that's one thing. You said it was lucrative, right? You're not carrying a whole lot of overhead and things of that nature. This is a higher form of risk. So why take on this venture?
I guess I wanted to take that risk. I had some money that I wanted to invest, and I figured why not invest in something that I would enjoy doing. So I just just jumped in.
Okay.
Jumped in with 2 feet.
So with that being said, we have networks of people that we have around us, right? When you decided to do this, what was their reaction? Were they very supportive? Were they
Very supportive.
Okay.
I kind of kept it quiet for a little while, and just told certain people. But my closest family and friends were very supportive, and still are, which has helped me to still be in business. You know, having the emotional support and even some financial support, which is a plus and a blessing.
So I was looking at the website, and I was looking at all the different type of events that you could do here. What events do you do that you feel like your business stands out to any other like event space? And then also, how creative do you have to get in order to like keep the name like relevant and draw people in the door?
So a lot of our repeat customers are word of mouth. When we do certain social media posts, that does grab attention. I would say what would set us apart from other venues is maybe just not having the blank walls. It is a vibe when you come in here. It's more of like a cozy feel. It's small but not too small, big but not too big.
Exactly.
You know, so it's like you can do multiple things. So we do say that we're a multi-purpose space, and I think that when people walk in, I think the fact that there's not much for them to do, and then along with our customer service, I think is very, you know, it's top notch. We do care about our customers. Our customers don't just become customers; they become family, friends. So I think that may be what sets us apart.
What were when you was establishing it? What were some of like the pain points, and do you still have those same pain points, or do you have new ones?
So when I first started, the pain points was just getting this building built out, right? Making sure the funds were there to have the building, you know, completed and done. Now the pain parts are, I guess, just keeping the events going, keeping us out there, our name out there, so people they know about us. People still walk in, even though we're doing pretty well. People still come in and say, "I didn't even know you were here." So you know, I guess it's going to take a little bit more social media presence and just advertising, which is going to be an ongoing thing. That's not anything that I ever foresee stopping. So you just have to keep going with, you know, keep that going so that you stay out there.
No, you do.
And you let people continue to know that you're still here.
So I'll give you a great analogy with that, right? So my background is in business with a concentration in marketing. And I had to study the Coke Wars, you know, the 100-year war between Pepsi and Coke. And during that time, one of the executives at Coke thought it was a good idea to not spend money on advertising for a week because they felt like their brand was solid enough to where sales would just keep going. Well, they found out in real time that week that they did not advertise, sales dropped 72%, and Pepsi ate them up. So they quickly realized that, hey, no, we have to continue to keep advertising regardless of how strong we feel our brand is. Another example of that is during COVID. One of the new executives at Coke did a similar mistake. They stopped advertising during the pandemic, and they lost 5 years worth of market share. They're going to have to spend marketing dollars for the next 5 years to get where their previous market share was to get back to that point. Procter & Gamble, on the other hand, doubled down during the which we call COVID epidemic, and their net profit increased by 20%. So yeah, it is very, you know what I'm saying, like I get it. Some businesses and some establishments might look at marketing as like, you know what I'm saying, this expense, whatever, but it really is to keep, like you said, the name out there so people can know that you are here. So in the event when they do want to come through, they think of your spot first.
Exactly.
And not anything else. So creatively, like, what all type of events have you had here in the past? I've seen, you know, bridal showers and weddings and I think anniversary type parties.
Right. So we've had birthdays, sweet 16s, a lot of graduations. We've even had repasts. You know, it's just a multitude. It's like, I think every event that can be had has been had here.
Okay.
bridal showers, baby showers, surprising, engagements. Just a lot of celebrations. Just, even, when I say the repast, that is an occasion that I would not have thought I would be doing, right?
Yeah.
But when people came to me requesting a date for that type of event, they're more so wanting a celebration of life.
Yeah.
So it works out, and then, me being here for every event is also a plus because I am able to, tend to them in those, tough situations or times. So it's as much enjoyment that I get from seeing people celebrate the other occasions, there is a sense of enjoyment as well, seeing people celebrate the life of the people they're mourning. So, it's not you wouldn't think it's a celebratory occasion, but you're leaving them with memories.
Yeah.
So it is rewarding in the same sense.
Yeah, because I was just about to ask, like, how was that process of, like, knowing that there's a repast here? And yes, it's a repast, and normally you would think, like, it's more somber and everything, but just being in it and knowing that, that brought you a form of business, is it like, are you, like, walking around on eggshells and stuff like that? Or?
The first one was a little, I didn't know how, am I to be, like, sad, am I to be happy? But once you get the feel, a lot of people, when they come in and they see the space set up, it doesn't get rid of the sadness, but it does make them feel a little bit more comfortable. So I'm not nervous anymore about that. When they come in, I treat them just as they would come in if they were celebrating a wedding or a birthday. You just want to make sure that that day is memorable, and that's the main focus. Making sure that that day is memorable in a positive way,
Yeah, I definitely love it. So I would imagine when you have to do certain events or whatever, like depending on the type of the event, what is the breakdown process and setup process like? Does it take a long time to do that? Because I imagine, let's say what would be an event where you would clear out a lot of the space and not have it as formal as it is?
So if it's a mix and mingle, we do eliminate. We take some of the tables out and put them in the back storage. If it's something where it's a wedding, we push things aside so that there's an aisle. Most of the time the bride and bridal party will come and groom will come from the back.
Okay.
Where we close the curtains and then we open the curtains. So it depends on the event, but most of the time this is the setup for the regular events. We've had events where we had like head tables, long tables that go down, across. So the space is very, we can change it up. It doesn't have to stay like this. But this is, when I'm doing showings and stuff like that, I usually keep it like this because it's just easier to show everything that we offer this way rather than have some stuff in the back. Just keep everything out, and whatever they don't want, we remove.
Yeah, definitely get that. So I was sitting there thinking, a lot of event spaces I haven't seen where they tap into the creative market. Have you been able to do that, like, podcasts or shows, or people like want to use it like for production purposes, for a certain look, things of that nature?
So we did do a little short, a short film here. Greg Lance, he's a producer here in Atlanta, and he came in with his wife Angel Lance, and they did a version of Cheers, right? But it was called Candela.
Okay.
So we did do that, and that was fun. I had little parts in it. I was the bartender behind the bar. It was cool. So that is something that I would be looking to get into. And as far as podcasts, you are my first. So I have never done a podcast before. So this is
I saw that, I think, on the website. So I imagine there's another room around here that looks like where it could be like either a makeup room or a small podcast room.
Yeah, we did have, so there is a dressing room in the back, which has 2 vanities. There are ring lights in there, there's a TV, and a little sofa chase. So it's a small room, but it's big enough to do stuff like this. Like you can do interviews in there, or people just get dressed, do makeup, have their hair done. We did have a podcast here before. He now has one called Mr. Biggs Live. He would come up with his partner, Mega Kwan, and they would set up over there and, just have their guests there. But I was never, really in the podcast. I was just providing the space. So there are some creative things we have done, other than just events here. And I'm open to more stuff.
I imagine also with like the TV and stuff like that, Super Bowl parties and get-togethers, things like that could be here.
I'm open. There's nothing that I don't think we can't do in here within reason, right? But I do look forward to the future where we are able to host, many other public events as well, not just private events, and just have a space here in Powder Springs where people can come and have a good time instead of having to go all the way out to the city all the time.
Yeah, no, because I definitely get that because traffic is brutal.
Yeah.
So
to say the least.
Yeah, exactly. I hate it. So what's the hurdle to get to the point to where, you can host more public events?
So I think the goal there would be just to meet new people, interact with new people, network, figure out what's needed. People come to me also, wanting to do certain things. So, another part of that is the advertising. Now I have to, advertise that we are open to certain things like that so people know. Right now it's pretty much been word of mouth, or if someone comes in and has an event, they think, well, this would be a great spot for, such and such. So right now that's where we are. But I do foresee in the near future, other events happening here.
Okay. What has been some of the most rewarding thing that has happened thus far in the history of the business that, like, if you had to say, like, okay, 1, 2, 3, these are the top 3 things that stick out?
So the top thing would be definitely seeing other people smile and seeing them enjoy their moments, right? The second thing would be, my daughter who was working here, she's no longer here right now. I don't know if she's gonna come back, but having a space for my children to work and make money and do things. So that's number 2. Number 3 would be the fact that I have now been an entrepreneur for 1 year fully. So me being able to sustain myself and still trying, it's a struggle, but still trying and keep this business going would be the number 3.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Because that's not easy.
It is not easy.
By any stretch of the imagination. I've been full-time since 2013. So, it's a lot. And part-time since 2005. That's when I started my journey. What's something that you've learned in opening this type of business that you necessarily didn't know going into it?
So I worked in the business world for many years, in insurance and corporate America. So the operational part is okay, right? But just intertwining everything. So you have, credit card processing, you have inventory, you have, just customer service, you have cleaning, all these things. So that I'm learning, right? I have not mastered it. I'm learning how to umbrella things and how to get everything done without going crazy, right?
It would drive you crazy, because there's a lot to be done. Most people, and I'm sure you experienced this, and you can tell us your experience on that. When you become a full-time entrepreneur, one, people look at you a certain way because when you say it or whatever. Back in the day when you say entrepreneur, people used to look at you like it was taboo. Now it's looked upon as like celebratory, but then they also think that everybody got, certain amounts of money and all that stuff, and they don't understand how much money you have to put back into the business to keep it functional. So how has that experience been for you?
So when I opened up the Candela bar, I did not take out any loans. I self-funded it, and that was a strain, but thank God the money was there to do it, right? So right now I'm in a point where I've had family members who have helped me out, throughout the process of the 3 years. I've had an investor one time who invested a small amount. It wasn't long lasting, but so I've had people who have stepped up to help out. I don't know. I feel like the rewarding part of it would be the fact that I was able to do it, and that I can continue to do it. I don't know. Lost me there.
No, you good. So let's do this then. So People have pre-notions about things, right?
All right. So a lot like that's right. So a lot of people think they look at the venue. They may look at me and they think that, oh, she's doing great. She's got it made. You know, she don't have no worries. But that is the complete opposite. It is a struggle, just how everybody else struggles. I just have different struggles. I still have mouths I have to feed. I still have things I have to do for myself. I still have my own life that has to be funded, right? And I still have bills to pay. And not only are they the small bills, now they're magnified because I have a brick and mortar, right? So we're people to assume that things are grand and great. We have to also think that, you know, just how you have bills, imagine those bills multiplied by whatever, right? And there's still things that has to be done in order to sustain and keep it. So you think that things are wonderful, you know, but it is rewarding. So everything that's done, I don't regret anything, but it's not easy.
No, it's not. By any stretch of the imagination. So what's something that, you know, because you're in this particular industry, that you probably come across where people have like, oh, well, I can do that too. They don't understand, you know what I'm saying, that it takes to get to a certain level. What's something that's been, I guess, constant what people think? Like, do they think, you know what I'm saying, it's easy to just, all you do is just go find a space and you build it out?
Some people do think that, but that's not the case. There are licenses involved. There are certain things that you have to stay within code. There are rules, you know, you can't just open up a space and operate, you know, there's taxes that have to be paid every month, every quarter. There's staff that has to be paid. There's a lot of paperwork behind it. You know, it's not just get a building, have an event, make money. No, there's that business and operational aspect behind it.
So I was sitting there reading that event spaces fall within between 10 to 20% profit margin, and then if they're a specialty space, it can go from 20 to 40%. Is your business within those capstones of those percentages?
Yeah, I do believe. So we do pretty well based on, you know, if I can compare with other event venues, I think that we're doing really good. It's just, you know, you have that overhead, and you're always going to have that overhead.
Yes.
You know, thankfully, I don't have the banking overhead where I have to pay back a loan, but there are still other things that, you know, take away from 100% profit, right? I don't think anybody's ever going to.
No business is going to be able to do that.
But I can say that we would be in the higher percentage rate of making profit now. This year. Yeah,
because you've been learning along the way, and each time you're doing something, you get better and better at it.
Right. You learn what not to do, what to do, what works best, what doesn't work, what you need to pull away, what you need to add in. Yeah, as you go. Yeah.
So I was, is there any type of event that you wouldn't do anymore? Or has that been pushed off to the side? Like, no, we're not doing that type of event anymore because it didn't make sense, whether it be logistically or from a business standpoint.
So I did try in the beginning to do like a co-working space. That was not a good choice. We got a few people in, but the space was just not designed for that. Granted, we do have the bar, and we do have a coffee bar back there as well. I just think like the dimness of the space, the style of the space is not conducive to working. There are some people that will come in and enjoy it, but for us to market that, I just don't think that was a good realm for us to be in.
No, I definitely get that.
So I wouldn't do that again.
Yeah. Plus, like, some people don't understand co-working spaces and how to share them either. And that it takes more communication to run a co-working space than what people actually think. You know, because some people's ideas clash with others as far as just trying to make it work, but then also tying, you know, and if two people are trying to do something at the same time, you know, it just doesn't work. So what's the one thing that you've learned that stands out?
One thing that I've learned, I've definitely learned patience. She need a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned how to deal with different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much those would be the main things. Dealing with different walks of life, different situations, financial situations, different personalities, just there's a difference in everyone, Not one customer is the same or has the same needs.
Yeah.
And you have to treat each customer differently according to what their needs are. So
Yeah, it's not just cookie cutter.
Yeah, so I have learned how to handle that.
Yeah.
Which does spill into regular life as well.
Yeah.
My day-to-day, learning how to just maneuver amongst different walks of life.
So I was reading online that you're a mom of two.
I am. I have two daughters. I have a 29-year-old, and then I have a almost 21-year-old.
Oh, okay.
So I have two girls.
So you started a business pretty much after they were grown.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did they both help you?
So my younger one, not so much. She comes in. She comes
she likes
in.
the perks,
Yeah, she comes in every now and then, and she'll help serve or pop in and pop out. But she's a blessing as well. My oldest has been very instrumental in the growth of the business. She managed a bar for the first 3 years. This is our third year, but she's no longer here as of now. We don't know if she'll come back.
Yeah.
She did manage the bar. She did do the staffing for the bar. That's not an area that I was well versed in. She is, because she's been a bartender for so many years. She did the menus, so she was really instrumental there. So yes, my girls have been
I'm sure they're proud and everything too.
Yeah.
Are you the first one in the family of dynamics to like jump out here and get a brick and mortar, be a full-time entrepreneur?
In my immediate family, yes. I can't speak for like cousins and stuff, 'cause I'm not too sure if they've ever done something like this. I know years ago when I was a child, my dad did have an exterminating company, which was a brick and mortar, but don't know much about that because I was young. But I would say from my immediate family, so my children and my mother, yes, I would be the first.
So how is family dynamics now? Like talking and stuff like that. They know that you're a full-time entrepreneur. They know you got an establishment, a venue space. How are those conversations now, just in general with the family? Do they look at you a certain way?
So sometimes, they say, your business comes first. You're always worried about your business. But in a way I am, but I'm also worried about my family as well. It's just, this is what's going to fund a lot of things that we might be able to do in the future. So I do put a lot of focus into the business. I think they think I'm doing way better than I am.
Right? It's perception. When you walk in, like I said, you have nice stuff here. So
but it takes time. Like when I first opened, I didn't have any tables and chairs. I was renting. For each event, I would go to the rental company. I would rent the tables and the chairs. Right. Then I got to the point where
that cut into your profits too.
Yeah, so it does, right? So I got to the point where now, okay, let me just go ahead and get the tables and chairs. So now I have them, and I have other things, and I also have a good friend and her husband, the Nixons, who have also helped fund things. Like they'll purchase stuff, and like, here you go, so it's helped. So now, I am in a better position now than I was when I first opened. But like I said, I think they're proud of me. They should be proud of themselves too, because they have also been a part of the growth. I do think that they think that things are like grand.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that understanding.
Especially the youngest one.
Yeah. So if a new entrepreneur comes to you, and I'm sure you have this all the time, since you're out there and people walk up to you and you meet them at various events and stuff like that. But what would be like a solid piece of advice that you would give a new entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur?
So mainly I don't know. So I don't know if they were if they were wanting to open up a brick and mortar, right? I would probably tell them to take out a loan. I would tell them take out maybe not the maximum, but something to help you build where you would be able to keep some of your own funds. I would give them advice on, licensing, especially if it was the same business as this one. I'll be able to give them more insight on what to do, how to get it done, how to get through the red tape, you know, legally, you know.
Yeah.
And if it was someone who wasn't doing an event venue, just needed some advice on opening up a business, I would definitely give them the moral support they would need. I could give them some business, you know, backing to help them there as well. But I would tell them to go for it. I would tell them to take the risk, and if that's where their passion lies, I would tell them to take the risk and just do it.
Yeah.
And not think about, you know, you always want to think about the what ifs or the negative parts, but you more so want to just be positive and believe in yourself and know that if this is something you feel you could do, you can do it.
Yeah.
At least try.
Yeah. I say it all the time. I tell people, go for it. You know, because you don't know what's going to happen on the other end. And, you know, I do run into those who they want it, but they don't want it enough, whatever, because they let that fear of the unknown. You know what I'm saying?
And it's hard. They say you got to spend money to make money, right?
Yeah, you do.
But that's hard to do.
Yeah, it is. But, you know, that's the principle of business, though. Once you get past that and you look at money as a tool and all that stuff, then, you know, everything starts to really, it starts to unfold, even in your mind or whatever. And it's like the fog dissipates and it opens up this pathway for you.
Yeah, and then you're not so afraid, you know?
Yeah. I've told people, like, I've never heard of this stat. I've heard where people have worked for companies for years, try to retire, whatever, and don't have anything in retirement. I've never heard anybody who put 30 to 40 years into themselves and didn't have anything.
Right.
I've never seen that stat. I don't think it exists.
Right.
Because I tell people, the longer you stay in it and the more committed you stay to it, the easier it becomes as far as like opportunities start to unfold and just seem like they're just thrown at you. One, because it's consistency.
Right.
I think that's one of the keys to business, if not, you know what I'm saying, the most, you know, pressing key or primary key is consistency. As long as you're consistent, because everything else improves along the way.
Right.
You know, your processes and other things, they improve along the way. The marketing, it improves along the way. But consistency shows that, you know what I'm saying, you're going to be there for the long run. Do you have an exit strategy as far as like, you know, where do you see this going?
I don't have an actual exit strategy, but I would like to have another location.
Okay.
Maybe not in the near future, but within like the next 4 years or 5 years, I would like to expand into other areas of business as well. Always keeping this, you know, it's my, like I said, it's my baby, so I will always keep this, but I do want to go into other areas.
So another event space?
I would like a second event venue, yes.
Okay.
And then other things as well. Like I would like to open other types of businesses.
What industries are you interested in?
So I like speakeasies.
Okay.
So I would like, you know, to do something like that. I am a cigar smoker, so initially I wanted to do another cigar lounge, but I don't know if I want to do that anymore. But I do want to do something that would be associated with that.
There was a guy I interviewed, I was in Macon for like years, decades and stuff, and he has a bar with a cigar lounge inside of it, and I think he was Dominican, and he had all the different cigars and stuff. Like, it looked fascinating to me or whatever. I'm not a cigar smoker, but like the ideas I got from it that were, you know, content creation and stuff like that was off the chain. But I could see where that type of crowd, it's more of a, that's what I've heard, like people who really enjoy cigars don't necessarily have a space where they're going to have that fulfillment.
So there are, well, in this immediate area, there are a few cigar lounges where you do get, you know, the traditional cigar experience, right? But I don't know if that's where I want to, I don't know if that's what I want to jump into. I just want to enjoy those places, right? But there, over in this area particularly, there are about 3 or 4 lounges that are really nice, you know, and there are places for people like us to go and enjoy, and there are places where you can go and hear music while you smoke and have food, and there are places where you can just go and, you know, chat amongst other people, you know, and like-minded people and enjoy a smoke. So, you know, I don't think we're struggling in that area over here, but there are some areas that don't allow cigar lounges, which I'm hoping that will change, you know. I did start a cigar line, so that is in the works.
Okay.
Yeah, the website is up. You know, people are experiencing them now and they're enjoying them. So that's something that I am, going to push going forward. But yeah, so it's
What is it about the cigars that you like?
so initially it's just so my dad smoked pipes.
Okay.
And it was just a time that we had together that was special, right?
So,
so kind of like
foundational memories.
Yeah, it's more so when I smoke, I'm relaxed. I'm in a space where, I'm not thinking about my worries. I'm just chilling, and I enjoy that. So that's what drew me to the cigars. I don't smoke pipes and don't want to smoke a pipe, but cigars is the closest thing to that for me.
Okay, definitely. So for anybody out there that wants to be able to inquire, rent, things of that nature, have ideas about events that you can have here, where do they need to be directed to and how can they get in touch?
So you can find us on Instagram at the Candela Bar. You can find us on Facebook at the Candela Bar, and our website is www.thecandelabar.com. You can also reach us by email, which is info@thecandelabar.com, and by phone, which is listed on the website at www.thecandelabar.com.
A very nice website, by the way.
Thank you.
So there you have it, Nicole with the Candela Bar here in Powder Springs. Like I said, y'all see all the footage that I've took B-roll footage for y'all, so y'all see a nice location. Definitely come through and support. Just one last thing, where's the furthest people have traveled to have an experience here?
So we have people who have come from Savannah, Macon, Alabama. We have one lady who came from California. So her mom was here. She was doing, I believe it was an 80th birthday party for her. So we did everything with her being in California. So when she got here, everything was done. She hit the ground running, and it was so I mean, we don't have any limits if they don't have any limits.
Exactly. That's what's up. So y'all come through, you have support, and then also support, your fellow Black-owned business.
Appreciate it. Spread love. It's the Brooklyn way.